Hey guys, it's Kira and welcome to another vlog. Today is Easter Sunday, which is very exciting because chocolate, need I say more, and also just means a longer weekend to relax and hopefully catch up on reading because let me tell you, I am behind. Congratulations to me because I think in the month of March I probably managed to do the worst I've ever done at sticking to a TBR that I set. I gave myself a very ambitious TBR for March because the Tis the Damn readathon was taking place, which was a Taylor Swift themed readathon, and I think I read none of the books from my TBR, so congratulations to me. I did move house, which definitely put me back in reading, but I've just been so busy and it means that I am so far behind. Now I don't mind that I didn't completely stick to my March TBR, but what I do mind is that I am personally hosting a couple of read-alongs and I'm really behind on those. So along with my friend Mary, I am hosting a read-along for the book Middlemarch by George Eliot. Really far behind, and I'm also doing a Lord of the Rings read-along, or like a Tolkien themed read-along with Mary and also Lucy, so I need to finish reading the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales by Tolkien by next week. So this is going to be very much a week of trying to catch up on reading that I am so far behind on. I am partway through Middlemarch and partway through the Silmarillion and I have yet to start Unfinished Tales. I'm very grateful though that on Scribd there is a copy of Middlemarch and there is a copy of the Silmarillion in audiobook form, which I am using to make sure that when I'm not able to physically read, by which I mean if I'm out and about walking or doing a job outside of the house, I'm then listening to the audiobooks, which is helping me to catch up, stay on track, and also I'm just really loving audiobooks at the moment. There is not an audiobook of the Unfinished Tales, so I'm going to have to tackle that one completely solo, but it's just going to have to be a week of grinding, reading as much as possible and just trying to catch up because I need to get back on track. I don't want to be drowning in required reading throughout the month of April, so I'm just going to try and use this first week of the month to get back in a good reading habit. And you know, I figured that if I film myself I might be able to do it because I feel like it's keeping me accountable. It hasn't clearly worked throughout the month of March, but you know, one can only hope, and that is what I'm going to be reading this week. However, completely unrelated to what I'm meant to be reading, I was very excited to just receive a parcel from Bookishly. Bookishly is a book subscription box company that is surrounding the theme of classics, so they do a different classic every month and send out book boxes related to classics. So this month they have sent me their box, which is for 1984 by George Orwell, which is an incredible dystopian, definitely, and a really good book and one that I've read before. I don't actually have a nice copy of it, so I was so excited when they offered to send me this box. So this is not a sponsored video, but they have very kindly gifted me their 1984 box. So I thought I'd open it on camera and see what's inside. I'm very excited. Dun, 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 dun. Wow. Oh, there's 2 books in here. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. That is so cool! Jay is gonna love this. Jay really liked reading 1994. That is such a cool edition, and it is a Bookishly exclusive, which is, oh my goodness, I've never seen, well, duh, it's an exclusive. I was about to say I've never seen this cover before, but that is awesome. Wow. Nice. Love it. So that's my copy of 1984. They also sent The Body Politic by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, which I don't know anything about, but it says, arguing that a state's political power should lie with its people, these pieces from the social contract inspired the French Revolution. Jay is really going to like that because he is currently reading The Count of Monte Cristo, which I believe surrounds the French Revolution and like the Napoleonic era, so I think Jay would find that very interesting. They've clearly sent a box that is perfect for Jay, so that is super cool. I've also realised that this is just a super nice dust jacket, and then it is a Wordsworth edition underneath for 1984, but I think I'm going to keep this dust jacket on because I honestly love it, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, then there are a few other things. Oh, is that another book? Oh, a notebook. We love notebooks. And by we, I mean me. I love notebooks. That is nice. Reality is inside the skull. Ooh, nice. Then we have a tea. Black tea pyramids. 1980 tea. Big Brother is watching, it says. That's nice. We all know I love tea, that's no surprise to anybody. Okay, what is this? Oh wow, awesome! Okay, it says, it was a bright cold day in April and the clock. Really just embarrassed myself there because I can't talk. It was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13 on top of a page from 1984, and now that I officially have bookshelves I can actually like decorate and put stuff on the shelf, which is so exciting. So I'm gonna definitely make, well, I have a dystopian shelf, so I'm gonna shift things around and put this one on the dystopian shelf because it just belongs there, obviously. Okay. And here, what do we have? Ooh. I think these are some stickers. Big Brother is watching, classic. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. That's a very clever quote. George Orwell was just incredible. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. I think these are all stickers. Until they become conscious, they will never rebel. Interesting. And there's more. He had moved from thoughts to words and now from words to actions, a bookmark. Then we have a little George Orwell character piece, like biography, I guess. And it says, the best books he perceived are those that tell you what you already know. Born 1903, died 1950. Wow, that's such a short life. Nationality English, works 30 plus. He worked many jobs. He was a police officer, a teacher, a dishwasher, hot picker, bookstop clerk, a World War II propagandist for the BBC and a literary editor. He was involved in the Spanish Civil War as a correspondent and joined the Republican militia and survived being shot in the neck by a sniper. Now, George Orwell, such an interesting guy, and if you are at all interested in knowing more about his life, then I would very much recommend that you read Shooting an Elephant. Is a collection of, like, I guess memoirs, but like short story memoirs. So he basically tells lots of different snippets from his life, and it really adds a lot more context into the vast array of experiences that he had, and obviously how those experiences then influence what he wrote about in his fiction works, because he did have such an interesting life. And I think that is everything in this box. I have to say, this might be my favourite ever book box that I've received. I just think it was super cool, and also not a book box that was wasteful, because I do find that, generally speaking, book boxes have lots of plastic in them, lots of things that you would not necessarily actually want or use, and therefore things that you just throw away. Whereas in this one, great value for money, because you got tea, 2 books, a notebook, and then lots of little stickers and things like that, which I think are really cool, as well as this awesome little like memento from the book itself. So I am so happy with that. Big thank you to Bookishly for sending over this box, because I loved it. So with that being said, I absolutely love 1984, but I have already read it, so I'm not going to be reading 1984 this reading vlog, but I do have lots and lots of other books to get on with. But naturally, being me, I'm not going to do any reading right now, and instead I'm going to distract myself by doing some Easter baking and trying to make myself a vegan Victoria sponge.
myself aside, lead the way on this trial. If you don't know the way, we can stop and make a change. I know we walk for days, losing hope, fading love. This night will be okay, waking up to another day. Myself aside, lead the way on this trial. If you don't know the way, we can stop and make a change. I know we walk for days, losing hope, fading love. This night will be okay, waking up to another day.
I'd love to know, where did the sun go? Because it's so cold today. I'm really sad about it. If you saw last week's vlog, you'll know that we had a couple of days where it was actually over 20 degrees Celsius, which was just so lovely. It was t-shirt weather, reading outside weather, the leaves were all coming out on the trees, there's cherry blossom, and it just felt like spring was actually here. And now I'm inside drinking not tea, but warm peach flavoured juice, which is so delicious. Got a blanket on, a jumper on, and I'm like just clinging onto every bit of warmth with my entire being because I'm so cold. And I just thought spring was here. It is April, for crying out loud. Why does the world insist on tricking me like this? It is literally like dangling warm weather in front of me and then just snatching it away. And it actually snowed today. Snow. I want to just say no more snow. Can you tell I'm upset about the weather? However, one could argue that the bad weather and the cold is a great excuse and reason to spend more time inside reading. So I've just spent a couple of hours listening to the Silmarillion audiobook. I'm very glad that I have the audiobook because it is a struggle for me. Fantasy is not my genre. It's not my typical choice or even just like an occasional choice. I really don't read fantasy very often at all. And the Silmarillion is dense. There is so much information and it just feels a little bit difficult. I feel like the audiobook is making it a bit more engaging, but I won't lie to you, I'm still really struggling. I'm waiting until I've finished it and then I'm gonna go and watch Lucy's vlog about the Silmarillion. Bless you, Gatsby, because she is just the authority on all things Tolkien, at least in my opinion, and I'm really sort of relying on her thoughts and opinions to help me understand what's going on, because it definitely feels like a struggle and out of my comfort zone entirely. I am of course hosting a readathon for it, so I'm going to persevere and power through, but I'm not loving it, I won't lie to you. And it is going to be a struggle to get through, but you know, tea, squash, whatever it may be that I'm drinking, and warm blankets will get me through the experience. But I think I may just listen to a tiny little bit more of the Silmarillion and then do some reading of Middlemarch and do a little bit of physical reading, and then this evening, as a little treat to myself, I'm going to watch the new episode of Made in Chelsea whilst eating burgers, because why the hell not? And that was on last night, so I save it for Tuesday, so I have something to look forward to, and I'm very much excited. So do some reading and then reward myself with television. Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Gotta get that shot. Well, I feel like it's been a couple of days since we've had a proper chat. I've actually been kind of busy, which has been fun, but classically not that great for my reading. Honestly, I need to have a word with myself, and you guys could probably take a shot for every time I say I haven't been reading as much as I'd like to, because honestly, 2021 has so far not been my year for reading. I just have not been finding the time for reading, feeling that motivated to read, and I feel like possibly something in my brain resists required reading, and so when I am involved in lots of either like readathons or book clubs or buddy reads, something in my brain, regardless of whether or not I want to read that book, just makes me do everything else other than read that book, and it's just because I have to read it that I seem to not be able to read it. So I haven't been doing a huge amount of reading, but yesterday, as you saw, was Em's birthday, so that was really, really fun. Obviously, I know the rules regarding like lockdown and everything are different across the world, but at the moment in England we are allowed to meet people in up to a group of 6 outside in the garden or in a public space. So because it was Em's birthday, me, our friend Sarah and also Jay had a breakfasty brunch situation in the garden with birthday cake and pancakes, and it was absolutely lovely, and then just a nice little walk and went for a coffee, and it was just really nice to be able to celebrate Em's birthday in person, and I hope that she had a fun day. I know that I definitely did, and it was just lovely to celebrate together. So that was yesterday, and I have done a little bit of reading. I'm pleased to report that I'm not completely useless, but I just feel like I've been busy. So let's do a little reading update. I now have about 5 hours left of the Silmarillion to listen to on audiobook, which I'm listening to it on double speed, so I feel like it should, I should be through with that today, and I'm definitely confident that I'll be able to finish the Silmarillion today. And I did also do some reading of Middlemarch. I think that was where we last caught up, was when I started reading Middlemarch again, and I'm now on page 217, I think. Oh no, wait, a little bit more. 219 I'm on of Middlemarch, which brings me to the beginning of book 3, because this book is split into several sections, so I'm now in book 3, which is called Waiting for Death, which sounds very optimistic. So I'm on book 3. I feel like I'm making progress, and I have to say of the 3 books that I'm reading at the moment, Middlemarch is definitely my favourite. It's definitely a slow burn kind of book, and at the moment, although I'm like 200 pages in, which in like a typical novel you'd be like halfway through at this point at least, I feel like I'm still very much just at the beginning of this novel, getting to know the vast array of characters and just like figuring out how everyone relates to one another and what the situation is. And so I definitely feel like I'm gravitating more towards the storyline which focuses on Dorothea. Dorothea is the first protagonist that we meet. The first section is all about her and about her marriage prospects, and I think she's quite an interesting character in the sense that she is like very like pious and reserved. She's a young woman, but she's much more interested in marrying an older man who she sees as more established and intelligent and mature. And she's just quite an interesting character, and I'm enjoying seeing her bits, whereas I definitely don't feel like I've quite connected as much with some of the other characters yet, but I'm definitely enjoying it. And I just want to see where it's going to go, because I think once we're fully connected with all of the characters, the plot might start to pick up pace, or it might be clearer what the plot is going to be, because right now I would say it is more just a study of provincial life, I think some people describe this book as. And so it hasn't really got a major plot line or a particularly like focused direction. It just seems to be about various people's lives. So that's where we're at with this one. Still reading the Silmarillion, which I have to be honest, I'm not loving. Jay did a little Google for me looking at basically what it's meant to be about, which I should know seeing as I'm reading it, but the description that he found about the Silmarillion said, great for people who like the elves, but if you are a fan of the hobbits, then it won't be quite as good for you because they don't really feature. And so honestly, if you watched any of my Lord of the Rings reading vlogs from last year, you'll know that I am a huge fan of the hobbits. I just think they're so fun and cute, and I just love following their stories. And so the fact that they don't really feature means that the part of Middle-earth that I enjoyed reading about the most isn't involved in this story, so that's kind of a shame. But what is interesting is seeing kind of like the divide between like characters like the elves, who are obviously immortal, and then man, and how man sort of was introduced into the world and how it seemed like a completely alien concept to these creatures that live for centuries and centuries, to be encountering people like humans who only live for, you know, max like 100 years. So I'm enjoying seeing that little balance, but on the whole, not loving it, and nowhere near comparing up to my experience of Lord of the Rings. That's just me being honest, and you know, that's how I'm feeling, but we move, I guess. And that's that, I think. The only other thing that I want to catch up with you about is obviously my bookshelves. My bookshelf tour should be live now while this vlog has gone up, so you should actually be able to see me unpacking all of the books and putting them on the shelves. But I have been doing a little bit of work in terms of adding like some decorations and just making them look a little bit fancier, I think. So one thing that I have added was this little thing that came with the 1984 book box that I got, but then we also have this, which I'll show you a close-up of in a second, and it is a Stars Hollow Autumn Festival print that I ordered from Etsy, and it is so cute. I absolutely love it. I've wanted one for ages and ages, and it's so exciting to have it on my bookshelves because you know I'm such a big fan of Gilmore Girls. So I'll show you a close-up of that, and I will also link the Etsy shop that I bought it from, because as well as this one, they have loads of other Gilmore Girls prints and prints from other shows as well that just look so cute, and they also come in loads of different sizes, and I just love it. So without further ado, I'll show you my shelves, and then I should probably stop talking and get on with some reading because I need to.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Oh, you and I, we got it. Oh, sleep. Hear the crickets, see the moon, side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
You just don't even know how necessary this hot chocolate is for my sanity. We had the craziest night last night because I decided to have a bath, you know, relaxation and all that. So I had my bath, had a great time, and then I was reading in bed and Jay got a bath. Again, nothing out of the ordinary there. Jay got out of the bath and then drained the bath, like took the plug out so the water could drain out. And we didn't think anything of it until maybe like 5 minutes later when Jay had like got undressed and everything. The lights just suddenly went out and we thought we had a power cut. We looked outside, all of the other houses in the street still had lights on, the street lights were still on, so we realised that maybe a fuse had gone in the fuse box. So we went downstairs to investigate our first major household issue, but it turned out to be so much worse than we had previously anticipated, because as we got downstairs into the living room, water was falling from the ceiling, dripping out of the roof, and obviously a pipe had burst, and then when the bath had been emptied, water was just coming out through the ceiling, and then the electricity had kind of like turned itself off as like an emergency measure to stop any damage being done. So all last night we were trying to get in touch with like the letting agents and everything, but obviously it was Saturday night, it was like 10 p.m. and essentially just a load of drama. So the dripping and the leak has stopped because no more water is going through it, and we have now been able to turn the electricity back on because there's no more water going through the system, so it means that there's no hazard. So we're back to having electricity, the heating is back on because that went off as well, so it was freezing cold last night, and I'm now just waiting to hear from the letting agent about hopefully getting a plumber sent out, because we won't be able to use the bath or the shower until that is done, which is obviously kind of essential because, you know, personal hygiene, so would really love for that to be fixed quickly. So that was my evening. I was just sat there reading in bed, enjoying my night, and lo and behold, chaos descended upon us. But now that we have electricity, I'm making the most of the kettle and making myself hot drinks because I was so cold last night. But breathe, that's where we've been. And what's been going on with my life. I have got a few reading updates to share with you, and I think I've been very chatty throughout this reading vlog, so I think this will be the last update of the vlog. So I finished listening to the Silmarillion audiobook, and what a relief it was to hear that final paragraph being said, because I have to be completely honest, I did not love the experience of the Silmarillion. And I'm going to preface that by saying fantasy is not my genre, and I feel like the reason I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy was because I was really invested in the characters, and I felt like it was actually a relatively simple story to follow. There was lots of information, lots of characters, but the overarching theme of Frodo having the ring and trying to take it back and being helped by lots of people along the way was the overarching story, and that meant that it was really easy to follow, and you knew that that was kind of like the guiding light throughout the 3 books. You had that thing to follow and focus on, and that really helped me introduce myself into the high fantasy genre without it being too daunting. Whereas the Silmarillion, I just didn't feel like I was connecting with the characters. There were lots of different stories, which meant that it was way harder for me to follow, and I just felt like maybe it just was a bit much for me and my personal preferences in terms of fantasy and how much fantasy I can really handle. The same thing kind of goes with Game of Thrones. I feel like I really like the books of Game of Thrones that I've read because I'm invested in the characters and it just felt easy enough to follow. However, I know George R.R. Martin has written other books like Fire and Blood, which are about the history of like Westeros and Valyria and all of that kind of stuff, and I don't think I would connect with that quite as much, because I think that's their opportunity to show how much knowledge they have about their universe, which is really incredible but just doesn't grip me in the same way, and I just feel like it's not really for me. So those are my thoughts on the Silmarillion. I have also been listening to some of the Middlemarch audiobook. So far I had been just reading the physical book of Middlemarch, but I thought that I would listen to the audiobook just while I was out and about on some walks yesterday, and I'm definitely enjoying that. I'm now in book 3 of Middlemarch and I just made it to chapter 25, so still got quite a way to go, but I feel like I'm getting into the story and getting to know some of the characters more. As I think I mentioned in my last Middlemarch update, I felt like I'd only really properly gotten to know Dorothea, but now we're introduced to these their family called the Garths, and then there's another character called Fred Vincy, who is quite sort of troublesome in the sense that he often gets himself into difficulties, and then his friends have to kind of bail him out, and he's certainly an interesting character you kind of feel bad for, but also you feel bad for his friends because they're the ones that have to pick up the pieces. So I feel like I'm getting to know the characters a bit more, and the story is coming together nicely. And then finally, I've made a start on the Unfinished Tales by Tolkien, so still in Middle-earth. And it is overwhelming. I'm feeling like the Unfinished Tales I'm enjoying more so than I enjoyed the Silmarillion. I don't know if it's because I'm reading this physically rather than by audiobook or what, but I feel like this is better split into short stories that focus on very specific areas of Middle-earth. And so although there is a lot of the book, there's not a lot of one huge story, and so it's easy to kind of tap into individual tales, hear about them, and then move on to the next one without getting overwhelmed with remembering everything, which is how I felt about the Silmarillion. So I'm currently about 110 pages into this one, and basically the rest of my day is just going to be spent trying to read as much of this one as possible before our live show tonight, which is on my channel, and that live show will be up before this vlog is, so you can go and see me blunder my way through trying to talk about Tolkien. Meanwhile, Lucy and Mary, I'm sure, will be far more eloquent and have much more interesting thoughts to share. But with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed hearing all of my thoughts on the books that I've been trying to chip away at this week. It's definitely been a week of catching up, and I'm very excited to try and finish Middlemarch next week, because that will be, after I finish the Unfinished Tales, Middlemarch will be the only book I'm in the process of reading, so I'll be able to focus my energy and attention on that one book and finish it, so I'm very excited to do that. And just a reminder that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this vlog, I was very kindly gifted that book box featuring 1984 by George Orwell from the brand Bookishly. And Bookishly I've since been in chats with, just basically expressing how much I loved their box, and they have been kind enough to offer a 10% discount code. So if you want to try out one of their boxes, or they have individual books with their exclusive Bookishly covers, you can go over to their website, which I will link down below, and use the code Kira10 to get 10% off, which is really exciting, and I just think it's such a lovely thing. I really did love that box, and I just wanted to share that with you because I think a lot of you would like that box and all of the beautiful classics that they are sharing as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go and enjoy my hot chocolate and just let the chaos of the last 24 hours settle in whilst I do some reading, and I'll see you next time.